So here we're going to learn how to take part in meetings. So summarize main points, encourage people to speak, control the meeting, make proposals, respond to proposals, negotiate a win-win solution, put your point of view, listen and take turns, make your case and respond. So how do you use the word meeting? A meeting is about on a particular issue, matter, topic, subject. A matter is a serious issue you have to deal with. You meet with someone, you have a meeting with someone, etc. And you can have a meeting. What sort of a meeting can you have? You can have an angry, heated, stormy meeting. You can have a preliminary meeting, a crisis meeting, an emergency meeting, etc., etc. So you need to know these phrases: the purpose, the aim of the meeting, the outcome, result of the meeting. An appointment is an official arrangement to see someone at a particular time. It may be a meeting or not. So some people arrange a meeting, they invite people to attend. It's probably this person who will then be the chair. When the meeting takes place, the chair draws up items to be discussed. This list is called the agenda. The agenda is usually circulated to participants before the meeting. Items may be added or removed before or during the meeting. So if you want to put your point of view, some people may say most meetings are a waste of time. What do you think about this viewpoint? Put your own viewpoint to the others in the group. You may want to use some of the following language. I agree that. Don't you think? It's obvious that. I'm not sure. So would you agree with it? We all know that. So do you think most meetings are a waste of time? Put your point of view to the others in your group. And then come back to have a look at this. Did everyone in the group manage to put their viewpoint across? Did everyone listen to the others' viewpoints? What were the opinions of others in your group? If someone wasn't able to contribute their idea, why was that? So to start the meeting, the chair opens the meeting. The meeting might begin by appointing someone to take the minutes. This written summary can also be called a memorandum of meeting. In a formal meeting where the participants don't know each other, the chair might then go around the table to ask everyone to introduce themselves. At this point, the chair announces who sends apologies, and the next steps are to agree or approve the minutes of the previous meeting and then review the agenda for the current meeting. So the chair sets a time limit for the meeting and goes over any housekeeping points, such as practical things as a reminder or to put mobile phones into a silent mode, or whether there will be a break for refreshments, etc. So if you want to begin the discussion, just say, right, let's get started. If there's been any social conversation first, then you can say, okay, let's get down to business. Or to introduce the subject of the meeting, you can say, we're here to decide, for example. So when you attend a meeting, what should you do? Before the meeting, should you read the previous meeting, minutes of the previous meeting, make up your mind about key issues, and during the meeting make only relevant and interesting points, make sure everyone understands your point of view, speak loudly and repeat your ideas often. That's not always necessary. Listen carefully to other people's points of view. Don't say anything because you might sound stupid. Well, that's a shame to come to a meeting and then not say anything. Don't discuss too much because you want to finish the meeting quickly. Well, that's another reason why there's no point coming to meetings if you don't say anything. Avoid any conflicts or disagreements. Well, that might be a short-term solution, but in long term that could just lead to problems. If you find out what different people think, that might be a good idea, and try to reach a conclusion that everyone can feel satisfied with. Well, that might be possible, but that may not be possible. So in a meeting, it's important to be able to respond appropriately to what others are saying and get your turn to speak. So match each phrase A to F with its function 1 to 6. So what do you say if you want to agree and add another argument in support? What do you say if you want to put an alternative point of view? What do you say if you want to correct a mistake or misunderstanding? Get your turn to speak, deal with an interruption, or bring up a new point or argument. During the meeting. In the meeting you discuss issues. You consider issues, you deal with issues, you examine issues, look at or even tackle issues. You can discuss an issue in depth, in detail, briefly at length. A point in a meeting is a fact or opinion. You can make a point, raise a point, clarify a point, emphasize or stress a point. And a point can be good, interesting, valid, central, crucial, key, important or controversial. In the decision-making part of the meeting, you can make a suggestion, a proposal or a recommendation. You can reach an agreement, a compromise, a conclusion, a decision. Note the differences. A suggestion is just an idea. A proposal is an official detailed plan or suggestion. A recommendation is a piece of advice. A compromise is when people accept less than they really want in order to reach an agreement. You can just give an opinion with no special phrase, or you can introduce it with, I think, I feel, I'd say that. You can use a longer phrase to emphasize that it is a personal opinion, so you can say from my point of view, the way I see it, or as far as I'm concerned. You can introduce a comment with a short word or a phrase like those below. This signals to the listener what kind of thing you're going to say. If something is obvious, you can say obviously, of course, clearly. If something is surprising but true, say actually, in a fact, as a matter of fact. If you're uncertain, you can say apparently, it seems that, they say that. If you're being honest, you can say to be honest, frankly, to tell the truth. If you're emphasizing an important point, you can say basically, the point is, the main thing is. Other phrases include unfortunately, luckily, I'm pleased to say that, hopefully, presumably, between you and me. So do exercise 1. How would you describe your meeting culture? And exercise 2, you can hold a mini meeting to discuss each topic below. Take turns to be the leader, and the leader should encourage everybody to contribute ideas and summarize the main points after discussion. So put this slide on pause and do the exercises. If you want to ask for repetition or use your own words to check, you can ask somebody to repeat something and say, sorry, excuse me, if you're American. Note that the single word what sounds rude. If you want a repetition of a longer, more complicated idea, you can say, I'm sorry, can you go over that again? A common way to check understanding is to rephrase what the other person said using your own words. So you can say, are you saying, for example? And if you don't understand the other person's ideas, you can say, sorry, I didn't follow you, for instance. Another case where you thought that you did understand, but now you have doubts, is using negative questions. So you can say, maybe I got it wrong, but I thought you said, and then you can make the other person explain to you again. If you realize that other people don't understand you, then stop and begin again in a different way. You can say, I mean, or what I mean is, for example. If there's a serious breakdown in communication, take responsibility for it yourself. You can say, perhaps I didn't make myself clear. Let me put it another way. Or, my mistake, I should have said. Or perhaps, I think there's a misunderstanding here. What I meant was. If you want to do active listening, what the other person says is often too general and you may need a more specific information. So you can say, can you say a bit more about that, for instance? If you want more details about particular key ideas, you can say, what do you mean by quite expensive, for instance? Active listening means giving your full attention to what the other person is saying and using short words, sounds and comments to show you are interested. For example, right. Yes, yeah, exactly, absolutely, of course. Yes, you're right. You can use two-word questions, auxiliary and subject, to encourage the other person to keep talking. Did you? Are they? Was it? Or even echo keywords and then make a short comment. 8,000 euros? That's a lot of money. Or you can make a personal response by showing interest. Really, that's interesting. How interesting. Showing surprise. Really? Wow, that's amazing. You're kidding, right? React to good news. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. That's great news. Well done. React to general bad news. Oh dear, that's a pity. That's a shame. That's bad news. Or you can be more personal and show sympathy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's awful. Never mind. These things happened. Very often a personal response is just a single word. Amazing, correct, excellent, fantastic, fine, good, great, interesting, really, right, or true. If you want to agree and disagree while someone else is talking, we say small words to let them know that we are listening and agree. So we've looked at those before, so I won't say them all again. To disagree, just say but, however, then again. Alternatively, use yes, but, or a variation of it. That's true, but. Yes, you have a point, but. I can see what you're saying, but. You can correct factual information with actually. Actually, I'm Scottish, not English. To disagree more directly, you can use open questions. Really? Do you think so? Are you sure? Or ask challenging questions. But what would happen if? Have you thought about the risk involved? Or use a fixed expression? I'm not sure about that. That's not really how I see it. If you want to manage a conversation, you may want to end a topic. Okay, so I'll then change the topic. Right, so anyway, now what about? Invite someone to speak. What about you? What do you think? Interrupt. Can I just come in here? For example, you can also block an interruption. Can I just finish my point, please? We'll go back to the previous topic. Anyway, as I was saying, Exercise 3. Match the actions with the phrases and control the meeting. Actions. Tell a speaker to keep to the topic. Clarify the meaning. Encourage someone to say more. Summarize. Ask someone to contribute. Stop one speaker so that another person can speak. What phrases would you use there? And the second exercise, for each situation below, appoint a different person as a leader. Hold a mini meeting and try to reach a decision. So put the slide on pause and do the activities. If you want to build an argument to persuade people of your opinion, you might need to build your case point by point. So you can list points one by one, add another point, show both sides of an argument, show a consequence, say the main point in a simple way, emphasize with what and be. Also note these structures. What we do is this, what's going to happen is this, here's what we'll do, here's what's going to happen. Or you can introduce a different point and then review and conclude. If you want to make suggestions, use should to make a strong suggestion. The negative shouldn't can sound very direct. Instead, say, I don't think you should. By adding perhaps or maybe or I think, you make the suggestion less strong. Use could to make a suggestion. With a question or a negative question, the suggestion becomes more open. Here are other ways to make suggestions. If you don't think it's a good suggestion, you can say, if you don't like the suggestion, you can say, I'm not sure about that, for example. The meeting will discuss the pros and cons of each suggestion. The chair will then make a decision. So look at this slide to get all the information you need. Exercise 4. A rich friend is offering to give you and your partner $100 if you can agree how to split it. You're not allowed to split it 50-50. You can't say 70-30 or 60-40 and make a side deal to adjust the amounts later. You have 1 minute to think about what you want and 1 minute to negotiate a deal with your partner. Try to use the following language in your discussion. Negotiation strategies. What's the best approach to negotiation? The win-win approach, where both you and the other person can feel happy with the outcome, or the I win, you lose approach, where the strongest person gets the better share? Which one of these strategies are best for finding a win-win solution in a negotiation? Have a look at the exercises, put the slide on pause, and then continue. Responding to proposals, match each sentence with a strategy. Put the slide on pause and do the exercise. Exercise 5. Act out the conversations. Situation 1. Role A, team leader. Role B, team member. Situation 2. Role A, Hardgraph Inc. Role B, Freetime PLC. Do the exercise and then sum up. How many solutions did you find for the two situations? Did your partner respond in a helpful way to your proposals? The end of the meeting. The chair has to make sure that the meeting doesn't run over time. At the end of the meeting, there's often a review of action points. Different tasks are assigned to different people. The time for the next meeting is then set and the chair closes the meeting. Alternatively, it might be adjourned for a short time until a later date. You may want to use some of the following language. To signal that you want to end the discussion, say, right, so anyway, or I think that's as far as we can go today. Finally, talk about the next steps and review action points. Here is a summary and review of your meetings with the starting, opinions, building an argument, showing interest, agreeing, disagreeing, managing, checking and clarifying, making suggestions, finishing, and the action points. Thank you very much for listening.